Gopichanna Ballabha Girivardhare Gopichanna Ballabha Girivardhare Yasodanandana Prachachana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachare Yamunatira Vanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Vihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Vihare Gopichanna Ballabha Girivardhare Gopichanna Ballabha Girivardhare Yasodanandana Vrajachana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachare Yamunatira Vanachare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Vakacharya Sarada Srimad Shri Bhakti Vedanta Simhachalam Shri Prabhupada ki, Iskon Samstavakachaya Shri Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Namacharya Shri Thakur ki jai, Prem Saga Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasagaura Bhakta Vrinda ki, Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai, Vrindavandam ki jai, Mathura Dham ki jai, Navrahitam ki jai, Gangamai ki jai, Yamunamai ki jai, Tulasi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Samaveda Bhaktandi ki jai, Gaura Pramanandi. All glories to the Samba devotees, all glories to the Samba devotees, all glories to the Samba devotees, all glories to Shri Gauranga, all glories to Shri Prabhupada. Funktioniert es? English? Deutsch? English? Okay. So I decided to read a little bit from the Transcendental Diary of Hari Saudi. We're accustomed to do that in Köln. And it's very nice. Ha? Noch näher? Hare Krishna? Better? Yeah? Everyone hears? No? Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitanamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavari Pashtatyari Satarine. So we're reading from the Transcendental Diary by Hari Saudi. He accompanied Srila Prabhupada for quite some time. And as soon as he started this service, he went and got a notebook. So every day at night he would sit down and write all his memories from the day with Srila Prabhupada. And so we're very thankful he did that. It's actually very special, very close to Srila Prabhupada. Whereas the Prabhupada Lilamrita, what is that? Prabhupada Lilamrita with Satsuru Maharaj is not that close. He was always with Srila Prabhupada from the morning till night. Anyway, so January 24th, 1976. Each morning at Guru Puja, Prabhupada is personally giving out sweets to other children. He sits on the Vyasasan as each child comes forward to receive his prasad. There's a small 2-year-old boy from Australia called Damodar, who persistently remains right in front of the Vyasasan each morning with his pudgy hand held out. Srila Prabhupada gave him half a sweet, which Damodar pushes into his mouth. Then he moves his hand over the back of his head, wipes his open palm on his tilak, and again holds it out. Again Prabhupada gives him another piece of sweet, and again Damodar repeats the ritual. There are no words exchanged, simply the boy's chubby palm goes out for the sweet, up to his mouth, over his head, and back again for more. This exchange with Damodar has gone on for several mornings now, and Srila Prabhupada laughs to see him wipe his hand in such a fashion. Who taught you this? He asked. While this is going on the other children leap and dance and chant, adoration for Srila Prabhupada's excitement to be in this present shine in their eyes. It is obvious the young children are spontaneously attracted to Srila Prabhupada because they instinctively understand that he is their best friend. As he does each morning, at the end of the program, Prabhupada circumambulated the deities, accompanied by all the devotees and a Sankirtan party. He stopped to vigorously ring the bells hanging from the ceiling on either side of the small temple room, causing everyone to loudly chant and jump in ecstasy. So this is a very interesting point, that Prabhupada would always distribute prasad, especially to the children. So actually Prabhupada, I remember in Vrindavan, Prabhupada was sitting on his seat. Who has gone to Vrindavan? Who has seen the room of Srila Prabhupada there? Yeah, anyway. So in the back there's a big marmor kind of marble structure and a marble structure. And on one end, close to Srila Prabhupada, there was always a box with sweets, mangal sweets. And Srila Prabhupada always made sure whoever came into the room when they were leaving, he would stop them and take prasad. And this custom was actually, introduced by Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada very much insisted that whoever came to the temple, they would be given prasad. Sometimes, when Prabhupada was preaching to a group of people, and somebody was getting up and trying to leave, intending to leave, Prabhupada said, "Stop! Give him prasad." And I remember I just heard a statement from Srila Prabhupada. He said that our practice in Krishna consciousness is based on 3 principles: chanting Hare Krishna, dancing, and taking prasad. And if somebody is more intellectually awake, then he can read books. He's supposed to read the books. But these 3 things are very important. Anyway, so let's continue a little bit more. Mail continues to flow in steadily from around the world. One letter came from Pushta Krishna Swami in South Africa about the Mercedes car that he had promised to purchase for Srila Prabhupada. He said that although he intends to pay for it himself, for now he has taken the money from Srila Prabhupada's book fund to finance the purchase. He intends to repay it later. Hearing this, Prabhupada shook his head. Smiling, he told us the story of the disciple who invited his guru to his home and gave him a grand reception with nice decorations, elaborate prasad and all. The guru was delighted and amazed at such expenditure. "Oh, is this all coming from you? The guru was delighted and amazed at such expenditure. "Oh, it is all coming from you, O spiritual master. It is all your mercy," said the disciple. The guru was pleased at this until he returned home to discover that it really was coming from him. For when he looked at his bank book, the balance was now 0. This is a very nice example that Prabhupada is giving. And there was an incident in London many years back, when Shamashunda was the in-charge man there. So at one point, there's a picture also. There's a picture of us walking with Srila Prabhupada in Rettershof, in Schloss Rettershof. And at one point, Srila Prabhupada was laughing, and everyone is also laughing. And I was there also. I was just standing on the side of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada had told this story, and of course when Srila Prabhupada started laughing, even though many hadn't even heard the story, but seeing Prabhupada laugh, they all laughed. This was Prabhupada's influence. Anyway, so at one point, Prabhupada was telling this story. And he mentioned that when he had gone to London at one point, Shamashunda had spent a lot of money for his reception. Actually, he got a helicopter to take Prabhupada from the airport to Bhaktivedanta Mandir. And because of that, there were so many debts. And at that point, I remember Srila Prabhupada changed the GBC ship there. He made Hansadura the GBC to pay the debts and all this. Anyway, so maybe I should stop here now and read from Bhagavatam. Any questions? Or comments? So we continue with the Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So reading from the 4th canto, 18th chapter, verse 30. Atasmin Bhagavan Vainya Prajanam Vitidapita Nivasam Kalpayam Chakre Tatra Tatra Yatarhataha Adhasmin Bhagavan Vainyai Prajanam Vitidapita Nivasam Kalpayam Chakre Tatra Tatra Yatarhataha Atasmin Bhagavan Vanya Prajanam Vididapita Nivasan Kalpayam Chakre Tatra Tatra Yatarhataha Asam Bhagavan Vanya Janam Mihita Pita Nivasan Kalpayam Chakre Tatra Tatra Yatarhataha. Ladies? Asmin Bhagavan Vainya Tatra Yatarhataha. Tatra Tatra Yatarhataha Ata. Thus, Asmin, on this planet Earth, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Vainya, son of Vena, Vajanam, of the citizens, Viditida, who supplies employment, Pita, a father, Nivasan, residences, Kalpayam, suitable, Chakre, make, Tatra Tatra, here and there, Yata, as, Arhata, desirable, suitable. So, translation. To all the citizens of the state, King Prithu was as good as a father. Thus he was visibly engaged in giving them proper substance and proper employment for subsistence. After leveling the surface of the globe, he earmarked different places for residential quarters, inasmuch as they were desirable. So there's no purport. And it's interesting. We heard, some days ago, we heard about Vedic architecture. Not planning, like city planning and all that. So this is, according to Shastra, there's two kinds of knowledge. There's Arodha Panta and Avarodha Panta. Arodha Panta is ascending knowledge, and Avarodha Panta is descending knowledge. Ascending knowledge means more or less speculation, invention, or discovering things, but in a very limited way. Why? Because all our scientists and all our discoverers, they have limited senses, like the conditioned souls. So the senses are limited. On the basis of this, they make a lot of mistakes. They have to correct their discoveries all the time. And then also it creates a kind of illusion, their so-called knowledge. And then also there's another quality, is that the tendency to cheat. And this reminds me of the insistence of Srila Prabhupada that we do not speculate. And I saw it myself once. Some devotee was starting to speak and said, "I think." And Prabhupada immediately called his attention, "Don't speculate." And when Srila Prabhupada used to say that, that remained remarks. Nobody forgot. Just like that. So this knowledge, Arodha Panta, is this knowledge that we know nowadays. And Avarodha Panta is descending knowledge that comes from the higher source, higher plane, transcendental plane. And this is why it's interesting to hear here that Prithu Maharaj also arranged things on the basis of, what is that again? Vayu? No. Vastu Shastra. There's many Shastras. And Vastu Shastra is, for example, is also architectural Shastra. Just like medical Shastra and so many astrological Shastra, so many Shastras. Anyway, so this architecture is based on transcendental principles. In the end, all this knowledge, all this Vedic knowledge, is meant to help us to awaken our dormant love for Krishna in the heart. Like we heard the other day, that Krishna is present within the heart of all living entities. Upadashra Anumanta. He's there as a witness and Erlaubnisgeber. What is that? Permitter. He's there as the witness and the permitter. Anyway, so we were also, like by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we were introduced also to Avarodha Panta. Actually, Prabhupada said that you cannot understand what is Krishna. You cannot understand Krishna unless you are connected to the cyclic succession. You are properly initiated. Just like it says, Rupa Goswami mentioned this. The way that one advances in spiritual life. Ado Shraddha. Ado Shraddha means in the beginning there has to be some faith, some interest, some faith. The next point is sadhu sangha, the association with devotees. Bhajana kriya. Bhajana kriya means that one is initiated by a spiritual master. If one executes the orders of the spiritual master, like we mentioned yesterday, the whole process of Rupa Goswami, he gives us in the nectar of devotion. And then, I don't remember the term, anartaniviti. That means one loses interest in everything that doesn't have to do anything with devotional service. There's another very, very nice verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It says, Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Payojita Tranasha Vairagyam Jnanam Chayada Haitukam. That means when one worships Vasudeva, one obtains two sub-products, how you say, sub-products. Jnana, knowledge, and Vigyan. That means, Gyan and Vairagya. Jnana and Vairagya. One becomes detached from the material world. In other words, from everything that is not really practical or usable in devotional service. This is real renunciation. When Samabhava Bhattacharya had been with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he had ultimately surrendered to his lotus feet, realizing who Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was, he composed 100 verses in Sanskrit. And then in the end, he gave another verse, Vairagya Vija Bhakti Yoga, Shikshartamartha Parasa Purana, Krishna Chaitanya Sharira Dari, Kripam Buddhija Saham Babadye. He said, actually, this person is Krishna himself. And he came to teach us real knowledge and real renunciation. Interesting point. Anyway, so the process of devotional service is described in the Bhagavad Gita as a very confidential process. And we can only be introduced to devotional service by devotees, bona fide, authorized devotees who are empowered by Krishna. Just like Srila Prabhupada was supreme, how I say, very, very inconceivably empowered by Krishna. He got the instruction from he was linked to the disciplic succession of the Guru Parampara, and he was empowered. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati gave him the instruction. Go to the West and preach in the English language. And I think I mentioned this the other day. Actually, this instruction Prabhupada got 2 times from Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. At their first meeting, at that point, Srila Prabhupada even started arguing with his spiritual master. He said, actually, this is not practical. First, we have to liberate India from the British dominion to be a colony of the British. Anyway, so he was refuted by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. And after more than 10 years, was it? I don't remember. Yeah. After that meeting, he wrote a letter to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And he asked him, I'm not a monk, I'm not a sannyasi, I'm a grihasta. I have my business and all that. But please tell me how I can serve you. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati repeated the exact instruction again. So at that point, Srila Prabhupada took it very, very serious. And he started publishing his, what was the name of the, Back to God. Back to God. And even went out, he was, let's say, the first Sankirtan devotee in our movement, Srila Prabhupada. That he went out, distributed this magazine, or these pages, very determined to prepare his journey to the West. He was always fixed on it, even though his godbrothers at that time, they kind of discouraged him. They said, oh, this is too difficult. This is, maybe somebody else should do that. And Prabhupada was determined to follow the instruction of his spiritual master. And because he did that, because he was completely absorbed in serving his spiritual master, he became more and more empowered by his spiritual master. To do the impossible, go to the West. Just imagine, Srila Prabhupada, before he left India, he was living on the most sacred place on this planet, in Vrindavan. And it even says that he was very honored, very much honored in Vrindavan at that point. Anyway, so he was living in that place, this incredibly auspicious place. And he went to New York. We can see the center of Kali Yuga practically. He went there. And he was there all alone. All alone. And there was a lot of problems also that Prabhupada had there. But Prabhupada never lost his faith in the instruction of a spiritual master. Anyway, so I'm supposed to read more verses. So let's continue. Isn't it? I'm supposed to read 2 more. Gramam pura putanani durgani vividani cha gosham brajan sa sibiran akaran ketakar vatan. In this way, the king founded many types of villages, settlements, and towns, and built forts, residences for cowherd men, stables for the animals, places for the royal camps, mining places, agriculture towns, and mountain villages. It said in the verse before, the name Vena was mentioned in the verse. Vena had been, you can say he was his father. He was not conceived in the normal way, but anyway, so Vena had created a big problem on the planet because he was not a devotee, he was a demon. And in the end, he had created so much disturbance that in the end, the Brahmanas decided to kill him. He was the king, Rajarshi. And so they decided to kill him with mantras, because they were Brahmins. So they chanted mantras and killed him. And then they kept his body. It mentioned in the Bhagavatam that he was kept in a special liquid to keep him fresh. And then they decided to churn the body, like grabbing the arms and churning, kind of. And then Prithu appeared from the body of Vena. And Vena had created so many problems that Prithu had to reorganize the whole planet. It says he not only created all these villages and this, but it also mentioned in the 4th canto that he started creating natural borders. Originally there were natural borders, not like nowadays. Natural borders means rivers, mountains, and forests like that. And in each section, a special people, races, so to say, would live. Nowadays we see all over the world, especially in America and Europe also, it's becoming like that. There's so many races living together like that. This was not like this before. They were living in their places with their special modes. They had their own cultures like that. Anyway, so this was part of the work of Prithu Maharaj. So then the next verse. Prag pritor iha naivasha pura gramari kalpana yata sukham vasanti sma tatra kuto vayaha. Before the reign of King Prithu, there was no planned arrangement for different cities, villages, pasturing grounds, etc. Everything was scattered, and everyone constructed his residential quarters according to his own convenience. However, from the time of King Prithu, plans were made for towns and villages. Purport. From the statement it appears that town and city planning is not new, but has been coming down since the time of King Prithu. In India, we can see regular planning methods evident in very old cities. In Srimad Bhagavatam, there are many descriptions of such ancient cities. Even 5,000 years ago, Lord Krishna's capital, Dwarka, was well planned. And similar other cities, Mathura and Hastinapura, now New Delhi, were also well planned. Thus, the planning of cities and towns is now a modern innovation. Is not a modern innovation, but was existing in bygone ages. This is Vedic history. Our history, the history we study at college or in school, is very limited. And actually, also the Vedic history. There's a mention of great personalities, real great personalities. Not like modern history, it mentioned all kinds of disturbances and all kinds of demonic leaders like that. Whereas Vedic history is based on the great personalities, avatars of the Lord, like that. Anyway, so this is God, how you say, God's plan, divine plan. And there's actually plans for everything. It's actually already, in former ages, life was much more sophisticated. Nowadays they say, well, before there was only primitive people who had no cultures, they were just living in the forest like that. But actually it's not like that. In German we have this term, Hochkultur. What is that in English? Anyone? Anyway, Hochkultur. They had different purposes in life, different centers. Like the leaders, the kings were Rajashis. They were rishis, Rajashis. They were saintly persons. Sometimes we can also hear this from the Bible, the Old Testament. Like King David, for example, is described also as a holy king. It says he was also chanting the names of God and dancing, and he was also dressed in simple cloth, like that. Anyway, these are not stories, but it's actually true. And the Vedas give us so much more information, of different ages, different yugas, like that. Like in Satya Yuga, the conditions were very, very different than in Kali Yuga. Actually, people were, as we know, we heard that people used to live a long time, and the mode of goodness was dominating at that time. Then in Treta Yuga, Raja, the mode of passion was increasing. Then more and more ignorance, like in Kali Yuga. It says that the four qualities or symptoms of religion, tapo, socham, daya, satyam, tapo, austerity, socham, purity or cleanliness, tapo, socham, daya, mercy, tapo, socha, daya, satyam, and the truth were present in Satya Yuga, the four qualities. And then in due course, these qualities were disappearing more and more. And it says that this Kali Yuga starts with satyam, starts with truth. There's still truth. It's very much, evaluated, appreciated. But this is only the beginning of Kali Yuga. We can see nowadays, still they're emphasizing truth. For example, when you go to court, you're supposed to speak the truth. And everything is supposed to be managed on the basis of the truth. But it's becoming less and less and less and less. Kali Yuga is most inauspicious of all times. Just like it says, Payane Pakshabya Kalavas Minyu Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhagyo Paruta. It says the qualities that are appearing in Kali Yuga starts with time is diminishing. We're becoming. I just heard Prabhupada say that. He says that our forefathers, they were living more than 100 years. Now we are accustomed to hear that people are dying at 80 or 70 or even earlier like that. So then, what is that? Trouble? What is it? I don't know. in Deutsch. Second quality was streitsüchtig. Das ist die dritte. Streitsüchtig. Achso, ja. Und dann Faulheit, Streitsucht. Wir können das sehen. We can see it nowadays. Just like before there was maybe one war somewhere, a conflict. Now they have several wars at the same time. It's increasing more and more and more. And what does Faulheit mean? They might be very inspired by their sense gratification, by their economic development and their sense gratification. But regarding the real purpose of life, they're very, lazy, very lazy, like that. And then also it says, in this age of Kali Yuga, in case somebody is, awakening his spiritual inquiry, his interest, there's so much cheating going on. Just see, in comparison to Srila Prabhupada, what all these so-called yogis and swamis brought to the West, it's all cheating. They're not really presenting things as they are. You can only present things as they are if you're properly connected with the Guru Parampara, with the Guru Paramparas, like that. And then also it says, and above all, the mantra says, and above all, people are always disturbed. And so much disturbances, and so many problems. And these problems are increasing more and more and more. And why is this? Because they're not based on real knowledge, knowledge that has descended, like I said in the beginning. And actually, this is very inauspicious, and you can hardly find any saintly persons anymore or Brahmins anymore. It's very common. I remember we went to Vrindavan once, and we took a rickshaw, and at that time the rickshaws were all pulled by people, not motor, or bicycle, but they were actually running, carrying the rickshaw. I remember this rickshaw Walla took us to the temple, and he looked at us and saw that we had Brahmin threads. And he pulled out a Brahmin thread. I'm also Brahmin. Anyway, so this is very common nowadays in India. Chaturvanya Mashristam Guna Karma Vibhagasha. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that actually these divisions, social divisions, are based on guna, karma. Guna means the mode of nature, and karma, the activities that we tend to do, we are attracted to do. So the Brahmins are supposed to be interested in studying and teaching. Whatever Prabhupada mentioned, that Brahmins should study the Shastra and should teach. Not to keep that knowledge for themselves or sell it like nowadays. If you need some assistance nowadays of so-called Brahmins, like a lawyer or something like that, you have to pay so much money everywhere. Whereas the Brahmins, they would just depend, lead a life, a poor life. How you say? Simple life, very simple. Everything based on the utmost necessities. It's mentioned that the Brahmins should maintain themselves or work according to by 6 principles. They should study and they should teach. They should accept charity and they should give charity. They should worship, be occupied in worship, like on the altar or deities like that, and teach others to respect the deities and accept the deities as they were. And so the Brahmins were not working in offices like that or at workplaces. They would just offer their knowledge to people. There's a very nice story in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. There was a Brahmin, Sarvagya. Sarvagya means who knows everything. Sarvagya. So he was going from door to door, offering his service, or to serve people. And Prabhupada mentioned in one purport regarding this story, he said, normally people are only interested in health and future, astrology and Ayurveda. And they're not so much interested in anything else. Anyway, so he went from door to door and gave advice to people. And at one point, he came to the door of a very poor man. And while looking at his hand, seeing his lines in the hand, he discovered that actually this man was very rich. He was very rich. But he was poor because he didn't know anything about the inheritance from his rich father. So the Brahman, he told him about that, and he also gave him directions. He said, what is that? Don't go to the north. If you go to the north, you will be attacked by a lot of, what is that, wasp like that, who will, how you say, stitch you? How you say it? Sting you. That's a word. Sting you. And don't go to the west. And the west, you're gonna be attacked by ghosts, and you start speaking. How you say? Be confused, speaking weird. And then don't go to the south, because if you go to the south, you will be attacked by a big snake, and this snake will just, how you say, verschlingen. What is that? Swallow you. You swallow you completely. But go to the east, and when you go to the east, you just wipe the floor a little bit, and you will discover the treasure that your father has left you. And these 4 directions, I described as karma, karma. Karma, it means like increasing your sinful reactions, like that. Then the other direction is speculation, the mind, speculating all the time. And then the 3rd direction, the big snake, is merging into the Brahman, losing your individual identity. And the cleaning and wiping the floor and discovering the treasure is devotional service. Anyway, so this is a very nice example given in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So I don't know how much time I have. I have no idea how long this class is. Oh, how long is it?
Until 9 usually.
Oh, 9. Okay, yeah. Anyway, so maybe you can ask some questions or comment something. Ja? Hast du wieder Notizen gemacht?
Yeah. How to know when is it like thoughts about Shastra and when is speculation? How to differentiate between speculation and philosophical thinking, let's say.
Well, you're very fortunate. You have a spiritual master. You have the books of Srila Prabhupada. You can refer to, search. And you have also the very auspicious association with devotees. You can ask. Prabhupada was very, very expert in confirming whatever he said by Shastra. Whenever Prabhupada spoke, there's also in the purports here in the Bhagavad Gita, there's so much quotes that Prabhupada gives. It's amazing how much Shastra Prabhupada knew. So many verses, so much text, Vedic text he's quoting. And that's a way how we should learn. This is what we should hear. We should be accustomed to hear and read Prabhupada's books and hear Srila Prabhupada, his comments or his classes like that. What's the difference between hearing from Srila Prabhupada and hearing from others? Because Prabhupada was completely realized. It says that tat viganatam sagurume vavigachet samidbani shrutinam brahmanishtam. This is a description of the qualities of a spiritual master. It says that the spiritual master is supposed to have deep realization, Vedic realizations on the Vedic text. And he should, the second quality is he should teach by example. He should know how to put into practice his knowledge, and in this way teach, be acharya, like Bhagavad used to say. Yeah? So how do we know anything? We should always try to learn from the perfect, quelle, what is quelle in English? Yeah, right. This is our training. We shouldn't speculate. We shouldn't invent things. And we should teach things that we have heard from the proper sources, like that. Yeah, that's why actually we're very, very fortunate. Prabhupada gave us so many translations of Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and other books. And actually Prabhupada wanted the devotees to translate more books. Like for example, Prabhupada also wanted the devotees to read the Bhagavatamrita, a very important book of Sanatana Goswami. And it's been translated by Gopi Paradana, actually a very qualified translator. He's not there anymore now, but anyway. And so we should assist Srila Prabhupada in his mission, like I mentioned the other day. This is a higher principle. Besides being a devotee and learning how to chant and how to cook and how to eat and all this, and getting up early, we have a mission also. And we should contribute something substantial to Prabhupada's mission. What was Prabhupada's mission? To expand the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu everywhere, all over the world. And there's so many places still. Even in Germany, there's so many places where people have never heard the holy name. They have never received the books of Srila Prabhupada. They have no idea that we exist like that. There's so much work, so much more work to do. There's no time to waste. I don't know if I answered your question. Ja, bitte.
Nowadays, sometimes we hear things like there's differences between different approaches in ISKCON. For example, Varnashramdam, when you look at India, they are more want to establish this traditional teachings of Varnashramdam or something like that, while in the West it's more like basic preaching, like giving the people the holy name, or something like that. And both quoting Srila Prabhupada, both sides quoting Srila Prabhupada. So what's your point on this?
The point is that our movement is growing. Prabhupada was not just the preacher, of Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita or whatever, but he was actually an ambassador of Vedic culture. He brought much more. And we can see there's places where ISKCON is more developed than other places. When ISKCON develops more, becomes manifest more, different aspects of Vedic culture become manifest. It's a fact. So not every temple, not every center, or every zone is the same. They're differently developed everywhere. And those places where there's hardly any devotees and the temples are small like that, they are the basics. And the basics are, like I mentioned, chant Hare Krishna, dance, take prasad. And then that's how we started also. Prabhupada gave us books. In Germany, we had no books in the beginning. Kind of Übersetzung. But then gradually the books started manifesting. There's many places still where they don't have all of Prabhupada's books translated. Only the main languages, like European languages, and in South America we have Spanish because most of the continent speaks Spanish, except for Brazil. Anyway, so in America they have all the books. In South America, in Spanish, we have also all the books. Hardly any book left now. But there's many places where they don't have the Prabhupada's books translated yet. So they're more like doing the basics. They also like you have a very sophisticated form of worship here, of Nrsingadev. I remember when the movement started, Prabhupada wanted all our temples to have a picture of Panchatattva. There was a painter here in Germany. He was actually my Kami friend. And at one point we separated. We had gone through all these things, Zen and Buddhism and all these things together. And then we separated. And we met again in the temple. We became devotees. We were in the first initiation together. And then Prabhupada discovered that he was a painter. He was an artist. And then Prabhupada insisted that he start painting Panchatattvas for all the temples, not just in Germany, in other places also. And then, after a while, Gaunitai deities were installed. Even though in the bigger temples, Prabhupada installed Radha Krishna deities also. Just like in Hamburg also. Prabhupada sent these deities from, I think I told this story here before. That actually, when Prabhupada went from Hamburg to London, an Indian came and gave little Radha Krishna deities to Srila Prabhupada. And then Prabhupada taught Yamuna how to paint them. And then they came, Yamuna and Gurudas and other devotees, Ramakrishna Maharaj also, they came to Germany. And they installed these deities in Hamburg. And at that time, the deity worship was very, very simple. We had a devotee Prabhupada had sent from America to help. And he had come to Germany. He was only 18 years old. And his father had given him permission to go. But under the condition that he learned how to become goldsmith, how you say? Jeweler, kind of. So he had to go to his work all the time. And I remember, just like, let's see, at one point I was sitting in the temple and chanting, it was in the afternoon, and this devotee came, Krishnadas was his name, he came in the temple. And he, without paying obeisance anything, he just went up to the altar, opened the altar, took Krishna's flute out, and put a new flute in that he had made in his workshop, and walked out. This is impossible nowadays. These kind of things. That was our standard at that time. So not every temple, every yatra has the same standard. The different standards everywhere. We just have to learn how to present Krishna consciousness according to desha kala patra, according to time, place, and circumstances. Just like when in London, 3 girls, French girls, joined in the very beginning. And I remember the name, but when Prabhupada had gone to Moscow and had met the first devotee there, Prabhupada was thinking how to get him married to a girl from the West, a well-trained Hare Krishna devotee girl, so he would not be alone. So Prabhupada made arrangement that the girl went to London, went to Moscow. And at one point, there's a letter she wrote to Srila Prabhupada, and she said, here we cannot mention God, we cannot speak about yoga, there's so many things we cannot do. And then Prabhupada answered the letter, he said, just speak common sense. So the circumstances were very different. I don't know if you story of this devotee, but he ended up, and they got him and they drugged him, and at one point he had a lot of problems. Psychological problems because of that. But he was the first devotee in Moscow. I went there with Harikesh. We went to Moscow. And Harikesh gave him, at that time, he gave him the second initiation. It was very complicated, very difficult there. We could only stay one day in Moscow. Because at that time you were not allowed to go to Russia as a tourist. You would only be allowed to go to Russia in groups. And they were very closely watched, these groups. I remember we went to one hotel there, and there was a lady sitting outside, had a desk, and she would watch everybody, what they were doing, where they were going and all that. And they tried to avoid that we would speak to Russians like that. Anyway, so we escaped at night. We went to meet, what was the name of the first devotee there? Anandashant. Yeah. So we went. Anyway, I don't want to get into the details. But according to time, place, and circumstances, we should become expert in presenting Krishna consciousness. Just like I was talking to one disciple, very far away from here, and he's working at the university. And he told me that we cannot present Krishna as he is, and we can also not shave, we cannot put on devotional clothes and all that. And if they discover that I'm a devotee, maybe they will even, kick me out. So we had long conversation about that, and we just ended up saying the same thing. You have to know how to act according to place and circumstances, and you know what the conditions are, and you have to learn how to present Krishna consciousness according to that. Yeah. What does an answer to your question?
Yeah, it's thought-provoking.
Huh?
Thank you. It was thought-provoking. Thank you.
Thought-provoking.
Yes.
Thank you.
No, was
Any more questions? Yeah.
Maharaj, a few times you mentioned that it's a great miracle if devotees stay. It's a great miracle if devotees stay in Krishna consciousness for a longer time.
Mm-hmm.
So I was also thinking, how can I myself sustain myself in Krishna consciousness?
You are what?
Sustain myself in Krishna consciousness, that I stay, and also help others to stay in Krishna consciousness.
Oh, yeah. Mm. How to do? Just keep on. Just maintain the principles, chant your rounds nicely, and keep engaged under the direction of senior devotees all the time, in devotional service. Yeah, that's the only solution. How to stay. If you give up, then you become weak. And Maya becomes, and the modes become very strong again. But if you keep the principles, you chant your rounds, you get up for Mangal Arati. Actually, I remember I heard Prabhupada say, the most important thing during the day that we do is Mangal Arati. That's the foremost principle. Mangal, in other words, get up early. Yeah. And if you get up early and chant your rounds nicely, properly heard, then you get the necessary strength and intelligence to continue. And always keep nice association with devotees. And you're very fortunate. Yeah, you first joined in Kern, I remember. And that was, seems like it was not enough for you. You needed something more, that kind of, yeah. So you came here. And I'm very glad to see you again after such a long time. No, not so much time. But that you're still here. It's very, very nice to see. Prabhupada, I think it was Prabhupada. Yeah, I think it was Prabhupada who said that two high, I say, Höhepunkte. What is that in English? Höhepunkte. Yeah, high point in the life of devotees. Is that when a devotee becomes a devotee, and when he sees others become devotees. Yeah. In other words, instead of becoming envious, you start appreciating, the new devotees and helping them. And since I'm a devotee, I might tell you, since I'm a devotee, so many devotees have passed me. How you say? Passed me? No? Became more important, become more empowered, more Krishna conscious. I just heard a conversation with Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada says, just like the father never becomes envious with the son, and is actually interested that the son does more than himself. And the same, Prabhupada says, the spiritual master is also eager that his disciples do more than himself. Just like Prabhupada, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati created the Gaudiya Math in India. And very rarely they went over the border. So he sent also disciples to Europe, but anyway. But Srila Prabhupada, the disciple of Bhakti Siddhanta, spread this movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over the world. I don't know if this makes any sense, what I said. Hare Krishna. Is that okay? Any questions? Any more? Doubts? Or criticism? Srila Prabhupada ki?